I'm here in Cleveland with an organization that I'd like more people to know about. Tell me what it is you guys do and who you are.
My name is Kani Xulam, my friend Azad Kobani. We drove all the way from Washington, D.C. We run an office called the American Kurdish Information Network. We're in Cleveland to raise awareness about the Kurds. We want these delegates and their friends and their loved ones to know who the Kurds are. It happens that the Kurds and the Americans have a common foe called ISIS. It behooves us to cover each other's back.
With the recent coup in Turkey, how does that affect not only you think how the United States views a Kurdish state, but how the Kurds view their safety? Again, with Erdogan perhaps taking more power than he previously had.
The recent coup had the right intention, if you will, but it was led by the wrong people. The people should have toppled Erdogan because he's the one who's acting as a dictator. The army would not have been good news. They have been really harsh on the Kurds. They have destroyed thousands of Kurdish villages, killed thousands of Kurdish people, civilians. But Erdogan took advantage of the post-coup situation and has now fired some 45,000 civil servants, has imprisoned some 6,000 people, judges, a quarter of the officer corps is now behind bars. So even though the founder of Turkey put Turkey on a course, or wanted at least, despite its many shortcomings, Atatürk wanted Turkey to orient itself towards Europe, have rule of law, open society, democracy, freedom of speech. But those things are becoming rarer with every passing day, especially since July 15. Erdogan is acting like a dictator, and my fear is people are not going to put up with this, and we may actually have a real revolution this time, and I can't wait for it.
Right. The last question I was going to ask would be, many people would say, well, the United States has used its money and resources to support different pseudo-states or states in the Middle East, starting, even at the turn of the century. Why is Kurdistan different? Why should we support Kurdistan as a state moving forward after we defeat ISIS?
Good question. That's a very good one. Kurds, you could look at them and you will see that they actually have democratic aspirations. They have an open society. They respect gender equality. They practice gender equality in the sense that Kurdish women fight along the ranks of men in greater proportion than any other country, perhaps coming close to Israel in the Middle East. And then the other neighbors look at them. Iraq, a wobbly state. Syria, still run by a family. Hafiz al-Assad and his son Bashar al-Assad, and God knows maybe tomorrow his son. Families owning countries is a crime. It shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't be validated. It shouldn't be encouraged. So when Kurds want their own place under the sun, I believe both in terms of like Americans and Kurds, given their redeeming values in terms of open society, respect for rule of law, I would say as a Kurdish activist that America would do well to help the Kurds. 200 years ago, when the Yankees were fighting the Great Britain, the superpower of the world, they got help from France and they managed to get on their feet. Today we're fighting ISIS. Yes, ISIS is not Great Britain, but ISIS has a deadly ideology, attracts fans across the globe. People, in Orlando and San Bernardino act on its behalf, and we are facing them. We are in the vanguard. We are in the front lines, and for that reason alone, we should be supported.
Do you feel that this current administration, now 8 years through, with John Kerry as Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton as the Secretary of State, and Barack Obama as our face to the entire world, has done the Middle East a service? I hear many times from people, especially from that area, from Turkey, from Syria, that the United States is lacking in leadership. Would you agree with that in this area?
With a heavy heart, I would. The reason is Obama thinks he could pretend there is no war and the war will simply go away. War is part of human condition. Plato says only the dead have seen the end of war. Obama, by pulling out the troops before Iraq was functional, actually almost underwrote the rise of ISIS, if you will, gave it wings, gave it space to grow. Calling it a JV team was the wrong idea, was the wrong name calling. They are, they themselves say they cherish death more than they cherish love. And one of the biggest complaints the Kurdish leadership has is that Americans don't take us seriously. And yet we are the ones who shed more blood to get rid of the world of this menace. I think Obama administration will one day down the road, when historians write about these times, will say that he lacked the effective leadership, and by pretending that war is not good, that war will go away. War has not gone away. War is coming.
And then many of our readers are Christian. I'm a Christian myself. Can you say that the Kurdish state could protect Christians more than they're being protected at the current state in the Middle East?
As a student of history, I can tell your listeners that Kurds have protected the Armenians more than they took advantage of them. Yes, some did, but there were many who actually protected them when Armenians were declared a menace by the Ottoman Empire, and 82% of them were killed, crippled. A nation was crippled. To this day, Turkey is not forced to recognize that genocide as a genocide, and throws tantrums when others do. Today, 100 years later, many Christians have sought refuge in Erbil. Your listeners can look into this, and I'm just not making it up. So the Kurds have had an open society. There are 1.8 million Iraqis seeking refuge in the Kurdish territory. We could have turned our back to them. We could have said, given the history, given the gassing, given the torture, given the horrible treatment that we got from the Arabs, we don't want anybody from south of us in our land. But that hasn't been the case. There's an open door policy, but only to legitimate refugees or legitimate displaced people. So I would say, overall, the Kurds have had an open society, have been tolerant. There are Christian Kurds, there are Christian Jews, there are Yazidis, there are other minorities. So we don't have that streak, you have to, it's either my way or highway. So in that sense, Christians can rest at peace.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.